Joining us now, Congressman Jim Jordan, ranking member of the House Judiciary Committee, the House Oversight Committee. First, your reaction, Congressman, if we may, to the appointment of Miranda to the being in charge of the content of Facebook.
Well, I think he was wrong in his move with the Stone case. We'll have to see what he does. I do think it's interesting that the very day you bring this up, Lou, Twitter has kept me locked out of our account all day long. We can't post any tweets, and this is, of course, is on top of what happened 2 years ago, where they shadow banned 4 members of Congress. Of course, they told us that it was just a glitch in their algorithm. Gates, Meadows, Nunes, Jordan, just a glitch in their algorithm. I said, well, you know, what'd you put in the algorithm? The names Gates, Meadows, Nunes, Jordan. So why is it always that these big social media companies, why is it always conservatives who seem to get censored? The president, conservatives in Congress are conservatives anywhere. So that is my concern. We'll just have to wait and see what happens with Facebook as we move forward. We do have a big hearing coming in 2 weeks, where the CEOs of the 4 biggest, these 4 big companies are going to be in front of the Judiciary Committee.
Well, the best news I've heard in ages, Congressman, is that William Barr means to bring a full investigation, antitrust investigation of big tech. It's long overdue. The president promised it, and the fact is it's gotten even worse since the president was elected. This is a country being run right now by the business community, U.S. multinationals, Wall Street, and by the way, they're aligning not only with big tech and big business, of course, but big China. And it's a serious, serious problem. They're creating policy outside of our government.
Yeah, I would say one of the many good things the Attorney General Barr has done in his tenure. Of course, he's coming in 2 weeks for a hearing as well, and he'll get asked about this issue and a host of others. The Democrats, I think, will spend their time attacking him like they've done ever since he was named Attorney General. They did file articles of impeachment against the Attorney General just 2 weeks ago. So that's another big hearing where we'll be able to talk about this issue, these big social media platforms attacking conservatives, censoring conservatives, and a host of other things. So we're looking forward to that. The Democrats have been out to get him. Ever since, I think this is amazing, Lou, ever since Bill Barr first testified in front of the Senate over a year ago, when he had the courage to use the appropriate word. He used the word spying when talking about what the Obama administration did to the Trump campaign. And ever since he's used that word, they have been out to get him. But he just keeps pressing on, getting the truth and the facts to the American people.
The truth and the facts, they are slow to surface, aren't they? I mean, we're going into the end of the president's first term as president, and we still don't have an accounting of Obamagate. It's outrageous. This president has been president throughout. He's been stymied. He's been blocked. And they've tried to overthrow his presidency from the moment he announced his candidacy almost.
Yeah, all true. But we do have the facts and the truth. That is coming out because of the work like folks and you and the handful of folks in the media who've pushed this issue, a handful of people in Congress, and a handful of journalists around the country who pushed for this, and of course the good work of Bill Barr when he was named Attorney General. So we do have much of the facts and truth. What we don't have is anyone being held accountable. What we don't have now is this into this double standard where there's one set of rules for us regular folk, but a different set if you were part of the elite political class in the Obama administration. So that's what we need as an accounting. And let's hope John Durham doesn't wait until after the election. Let's hope he gets his investigation done this summer, as Bill Barr said just a few months ago, and that we ultimately hold people accountable for doing the terrible things that they did when they systematically targeted the Trump campaign, spied on American citizens, used a fake dossier that they already knew was fake as a basis to go get one of the warrants to spy on one of those Americans. Let's hope Durham's report comes out and that there are people held accountable now.
Let's talk about Durham. Durham, in terms of producing that report, do you think he will bring charges before the election? I have this horrible feeling that he won't.
I don't know. We want a thorough job. We want a complete job. But as you said, it's been 4 years. Remember, they started July 31st, 4 years ago. July 31st, 2016 is when they opened the investigation. Here we are 4 years later. Everything we have learned, how they set up Michael Flynn, how they used the fake dossier, how that this Mifsud guy was meeting with Papadopoulos, which starts the whole thing. All these things we have learned. In fact, I've said many times, I think I've said it on your show, Lou, that the only thing we had wrong about this whole sordid affair is it was worse than we thought. So let's hope that the investigation is complete and that people are held accountable, and let's hope it happens sooner rather than later.
Congressman, always great to have you with us. Thanks so much for all you do, Congressman Jim Jordan. Thank you.